This is the video for the Try It section of Lesson 18, Creating User Forms. In this lesson, you design a simple user form with a label control, a text box control, some checkbox controls, and 2 command button controls. The purpose of this lesson is to practice designing a simple user form with various controls to emulate a client profile. There's really no code associated with this lesson. It's more of an opportunity to get the ball rolling on showing you how user forms are designed and where you do that. Where you do that is in the Visual Basic Editor, so you can press the Alt F11 keys from any version of Excel that you're using, or in the ribbon you can click the Developer tab and the Visual Basic icon. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to purposely close the Properties window and the Project window. If you ever need to use the Visual Basic Editor for the purposes of actually almost anything, but especially user forms, you need to show the VBA Project window and the Properties window. If you ever come into the VBE and you don't see those two windows, then I want to make sure that we go over again where you find them. For the Project window, click View and the Project Explorer window, or you could press the Control R keys to show this window here. This is very important. And equally as important when designing user forms is to come back on up here to the View menu item again, and you could either have clicked the F4 key or click this View item and Properties window. You want to have both of these windows open when you design a user form. When you want to place a user form in your workbook, what you'll do is select your project name and come on up here to the Insert menu item. Normally we've been clicking on this module word, and this time, because we're going to be entering, or rather inserting a user form, you just select user form, and you're going to see this design window here that shows you what your user form looks like as you are in the process of building it. So now that you have gotten to this point here, what I want to get you used to looking at is how to manipulate this user form so that you can prepare it for some of the controls that you're going to put on it. And the first thing that we can do is to set the height property of the user form to 240. So I'm going to find the height property here. I've got the user form selected, and right down here I'm going to select the 180 and type in 240 and press enter, because that's how tall I want the user form to be for this example. The width, I'm going to scroll on down here and find the width property, and here it is at 240, but what I want for this user form is a width of 190. From the menu at the top of the VBE, click on View Toolbox, or what you could do is to, after you have selected this user form, rather, that's why it was grayed out. I want to show you this again. View Toolbox, or you'll see that the toolbox already is selected. I'm going to close it right now. This icon here is your toolbox icon, and you can also click that to quickly show the toolbox. And this is where your controls are that you can click on to select and then draw onto your user form. In fact, the first control that we're going to draw on here is going to be a label control, and when you hover your mouse over these control icons on the toolbox, you'll see this little screen tip that pops up to tell you what the icon represents for which control you're actually hovering over. So here is the label control. I'm going to left click just to select it, a very quick click, and I'm going to draw by pressing down on my left mouse button this label control right across the top here, and I want it to be like that, and I'm going to release the mouse buttons. This label 1 caption is the default caption for this label control that we just drew on here. And what I want this caption to actually say is company name. Now, I can do that one of two ways. I can select the control, which it already is, and with this label control selected, I can arrow on up here or scroll on up to this caption property, and I can select the default of label 1, and I could type in what I want it to say, which is company name. Or in the case of labels, what I could also do is to gently select the label, and I'm going to press my left mouse button and drag across the caption that came with this, and I could type right into the label control itself, and I'm going to type in company name with a colon. Click outside of the label control onto this user form design area here, and there I have entered company name into the as the caption property for this label. The next thing that I want to do is to place a text box underneath this company name so that when the user looks at this user form, they will see that this label control up here that says company name indicates that a company name is going to be entered into a text box. So over here is this text box control icon. I'm going to just click it once and come back over here, and you can see that my mouse is this crosshair cursor looking thing, and I'm going to draw a text box right across here like this to be about the same width as the label control that I just added a moment ago. So now that this is sized the way I want it to be, I've got my text box selected, and I can accept all of the defaults for the text box for now. And now it's time to enter in another label control that I'm going to want to have the user know what to do with some of the checkboxes that I'm going to be placing below that. So first, I'm going to select this label control again, and I'm going to draw this label control here. And this time, just to change things up a little bit, I'm going to come to the caption property here. Let me widen this a little bit. And I'm going to select the default label 2 caption, and I'm going to say clients business, check all that apply. And I'm going to press the enter key, and that accepts the caption into this label that we just now drew. So below here, I am going to place checkboxes. The reason for this user form is that I'm going to have it be where when you call the user form, the purpose of it is to enter in, if you were a company that has a number of vendors, you might want to add a vendor to your vendor list and some information about that vendor. And so this is just a hypothetical example of how to add this information about your vendor by entering its company name, and tell this form, in theory, that you'd be creating, that this user form is helping you to create and to manage, to identify some of the characteristics of this client's business, this vendor of your companies in this theoretical example. And I'm going to put down agriculture here and press click out of it, and I'm going to draw yet another checkbox, and I'm going to draw it right here. And now I'm going to say manufacturing with a capital M. And then I'm going to put 3 more below this. Now you'll notice I had one checkbox here. I completely redrew another one. This time I'm going to take a shortcut, and I'm going to select this checkbox and you see this fuzzy-ish border around here that tells me that the checkbox is selected. I'm going to right click it and left click to select copy. I'm going to just click here in the user form itself. I'm going to right click and select paste, and this puts this manufacturing looking checkbox up here that I'm going to drag down, and then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to paste again, and then a third time. And I'm going to change the caption of these to medical. These are just examples. And retail. And technology. Now if you take a look at this user form, what I'm doing is trying to have it look somewhat pleasing to the eye, and right now there are some of these controls that are a little bit helter-skelter on here, so I'm going to select this label control here, and I'm pressing my left mouse button to just kind of drag it up a little bit this way, and that's about where I want it. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to click my mouse button here and just drag right across here like this to select these 4 checkboxes, and that groups all of them where I can drag them up a little higher to fill in this gap that was in here between agricultural and manufacturing. And now I'm going to do the same thing to these 5 checkboxes and just kind of drag them up a little bit closer to the label control that tells the user what they should be doing, which is to check as many of these checkboxes as apply to this fictional company name that's going to be entered into this text box. The next and pretty much last piece of business for designing our user form is to put a couple of command buttons onto the user form. You always want to let your users and yourself have a way out of this or any user form that you create. So I'm going to draw this command button here, and I'm going to come over here and draw another command button. I'm going to click on it and put it right around here. Notice I placed this one a little bit higher than that one. I didn't mean to do that, so I'm going to just have my mouse catch the edge of this command button. I'm pressing with my left mouse button and just dragging down one little bit to now have these 2 command buttons be on the same horizontal plane. This command button I am going to change the caption of to be OK. An OK caption is a very universal button caption that means whatever I've entered in here, great. If I click the OK button, that accepts it and puts it wherever this user form's code behind the scenes will want this info to go. And now I'm going to click in this button, and I'm going to change this caption to exit. You've seen, and I'm going to press the enter key here. You've seen that the forms many times that you fill out online, or the dialog boxes that are standard in Excel, typically have a cancel or exit button on them. You need to have your users approve of what they're doing with a button like OK, and to be able to escape the user form by clicking an exit button, behind which will be the code that will what's called unload the form. But in any case, this is how you design a user form. Of course, there's going to be code behind it, and one of the other pieces of information that you can add to the user form is to put some kind of meaningful title in it. Here the caption says user form 1 because this is the first user form of the workbook, and VBA defaults a lot of properties to its controls when you first create them. And I'm going to click somewhere on this user form that is not directly over a control. So way over here, I'm just going to simply click to know I've got the user form itself selected, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do two things. One of them is I'm going to change the caption of the user form to say the word clients. And I'm going to press the enter key, and that puts the word clients up here. Now, in addition to the caption property, there's a different property called a name property. Don't confuse the name property with the caption property. The name has to do with what you are naming this user form object. And just as all of these objects have names, we haven't gotten into that aspect of it yet. We will in the next lesson. But for the name of this user form, I am going to call it FRM clients. Now, why did I do that? Because oftentimes, and there's nothing sacred about this FRM, but many times you will find yourself putting names to controls in a certain kind of more or less accepted way of doing things in VBA. You don't have to ascribe to it if you don't want to, but you'll find that when we're going to be naming objects such as checkboxes, you see this is named checkbox 1 and checkbox 2, etc. This was the second one that we put on. If I wanted to name this checkbox something else, like checkbox agriculture, I might name it CBX agriculture. And the CBX tells me it's a checkbox. If I was going to do a label control name, I might name this one LBL company name, and this one might be LBL client's business, that kind of thing. So here for the user form, I'm using an abbreviation FRM that I like to do, and which I recommend that you think about doing, and that's why I'm putting it in this book and I'm using it in this lesson, to have this little abbreviation that you can sort of get used to naming your objects in VBA with. You don't have to, but it's a good idea. So that is how you design a user form. Now, I'm going to do one more thing, which is to show the immediate window, and I'm going to press Control G here. And here I am going to type in a line of code that you will see will typically belong to a macro, or however way you are going to end up showing the user form to users. You're not going to show it from the Visual Basic Editor almost ever. The reason I'm doing it here is just to show you what this user form will look like when it actually gets seen on a worksheet. So I've named the form FRM clients, and here in the immediate window I'm going to type in FRM clients dot show, and if I press the enter key, which I'm about to do, this will take me to the worksheet and show you what this user form will actually look like when you see it and when your users see it, when you're ready to show it and you're done with your project. And that is how a user form is. I'm going to click this X close button up here to close the user form, which is another way that you can do it. This will take me back to the VBE, and here we are back. This is an example of how you design a user form and where you do it from the Visual Basic Editor by clicking Insert, User Form, and then placing your controls on there depending on what the purpose of the user form is.